I was the sole heir to the dynasty, yet my father announced at the board meeting that his stepson would take the reins. His reasoning? He understands gratitude better. He fits the role. A month later, my fiancée held that stepson's hand and told me to my face, "I'm sorry. It's always been him." Everyone expected me to rage, to burn bridges. I didn't. I simply signed a stock transfer agreement with a steady hand, turned around, and left the country with the 30% of circulating shares I personally owned. 3 months later, I returned with a woman on my arm. The moment my stepbrother saw her, his wine glass shattered on the floor. She was the untouchable dream he had hidden in his heart for a decade. Now, she calls me husband. Regarding the next CEO of Thorn Enterprises, I have made my decision. In the penthouse conference room, the air was stagnant. My father, Victor Thorn, sat at the head of the table, his fingers lightly drumming the mahogany. His gaze swept over the company veterans before landing beside me. Not on me, on Caleb Reed. Caleb, his voice was steady, will succeed me as the new CEO of Thorn Enterprises. For a second, the entire room stopped breathing. Everyone's gaze, like iron filings drawn to a magnet, snapped from my face to Caleb. Caleb's expression was calibrated to perfection. First shock, then apprehension, and finally, he stood up and bowed deeply to my father. "Chairman, I can't take this from Julian. This position has always belonged to him." His voice carried a tremor, sounding incredibly sincere. My father looked at him, his eyes gleaming with satisfaction. It was the look of an artist admiring his masterpiece. No need for modesty. He turned, finally looking at me, his tone cooling instantly. "Julian has his issues. You are steadier, and you understand gratitude. I trust the group in your hands." Understand gratitude. The words were like a red-hot nail driven into my ear. I didn't speak. I just looked at my father. 60 years old, well-maintained, jet-black hair, barely a wrinkle. He looked back at me without a shred of guilt, only undeniable authority. Beside him, Caleb was still performing. "Julian, please talk to the chairman." "I really can't. I'm just the adopted son. I raised a hand, cutting him off. "I accept Dad's decision." My voice was calm, void of emotion. Caleb's performance stalled. The speech he had prepared seemed suddenly useless. He looked at me in astonishment, seemingly unable to comprehend why I wasn't screaming, flipping tables, or acting like a scorned prince. The board members wore various expressions: sympathy, schadenfreude, indifference. My father frowned. My calm clearly exceeded his expectations. He expected a wounded lion defending its territory. Instead, I stood up and adjusted my lapels. "If there's nothing else, I'll be going." I turned and walked toward the door. Behind me, my father's voice rose with a hint of anger. "Julian, is this your attitude?" I stopped but didn't turn around. "What else do you want? Should I kneel and beg? Or get into a fist fight with Caleb to prove I'm more qualified?" The room fell into a deathly silence. I could feel Caleb's gaze sticking to my back like a viper. He wanted a scene. The bigger the better, to highlight his composure. I disappointed him. I opened the door and walked out. As it clicked shut, I heard my father's suppressed rage. "Look at him. Just look. That's the son I raised. Arrogant, entitled. If Thorn Enterprises fell into his hands, he'd bankrupt it in 3 years." Then came Caleb's gentle soothing. "Chairman, please don't be angry. Julian is just upset." I didn't listen further. I stepped into the elevator, watching my reflection in the polished metal doors. No anger, no sadness. Nothing. When I reached the lobby, the crystal chandelier was blindingly bright. My phone buzzed. It was my fiancée, Elena Cross. "Julian, I'm at the Serendipity Cafe across from the office. Come over. We need to talk." Her voice sounded exhausted. "Okay." I hung up and walked out. The sunlight was harsh. A month ago, my father was hospitalized with acute gastroenteritis. Caleb played the devoted son for a week. I was in Europe for 10 days closing a merger. When I came back, everything had shifted. My father's eyes had changed. Elena's attitude had cooled. I walked into the cafe and saw Elena by the window. She wore a white dress, hair down, looking serene. But beside her sat another man. Caleb. He had changed out of his stiff suit into a casual beige jacket. Seeing me, he stood up, wearing an apologetic look. "Julian." I sat opposite them, ignoring him, looking only at Elena. "What did you want to say?" Elena stirred her coffee, avoiding my eyes. She stayed silent until the steam from the cups vanished. Finally, she took a deep breath. "Julian, let's break up." I nodded. "Okay." My reaction stunned them again. Elena looked up, eyes wide with disbelief. You don't have any questions?" "Like what?" I asked. "Why? Or how long this has been going on?" My gaze finally shifted to Caleb. He instinctively grabbed Elena's hand on the table, shielding her. A protecteur espouse. Julian, I'm sorry, Caleb said. Elena and I are truly in love. I never wanted to hurt you. Truly in love. I almost laughed. So, I looked at Elena. You didn't call me here to break up. I paused, enunciating every word. You called me here to show your hand. Elena's face went pale. Elena hadn't expected me to be so blunt. Her lips moved, but no sentence formed. Caleb immediately took over, squeezing her hand tighter, staking his claim. Julian, since we're being honest, I won't hide it. I've loved Elena for a long time. I kept it buried because you're my brother and she was your fiancée. If the chairman hadn't made his decision today, I never would have spoken up. He spoke with such emotion, as if he were the one making the sacrifice. I looked at him, finding it amusing. So, I should thank Dad? He played matchmaker for you two lovebirds. Caleb's expression stiffened before returning to that innocent mask. Julian, I know you're upset, but you can't force feelings. Elena isn't happy with you. I'm not happy. Elena chimed in, finding her footing. Julian, ask yourself, have you ever cared about me? You're always busy with work with your projects. Do you even know what I like? Do you know what I wanted for my birthday? I looked at her and spoke calmly. You like Van Gogh's sunflowers. You hate roses. You're allergic to shellfish. You love spicy food. For your last birthday, you wanted Under the Starry Sky by that unknown artist in the West Village Gallery because it reminded you of where we first met. I already bought the painting. It's in my study. I was planning to hang it in our new home. My voice was flat, stating facts like a quarterly report. Elena's accusations died in her throat. Her mouth hung open, color draining from her face, replaced by shock, shame, and the embarrassment of being exposed. Caleb looked equally unwell. He hadn't expected the brother he painted as cold and uncaring to know every detail. I gave you a chance, Elena, I continued. When I got back from Europe a month ago, I asked if you were hiding anything. You said no. You said I was being sensitive. Elena's shoulders began to tremble. Now, holding his hand, you tell me you found true love. I glanced at their intertwined fingers. So your true love just happened to need announcing the exact same day my father named him heir? My question was a scalpel, slicing through the beautiful fabric of romance to reveal the calculation underneath. No, Elena shrieked, her voice cracking. I love Caleb for who he is. It has nothing to do with his status. Is that so? I chuckled softly. If my father had chosen me today, would you still be sitting here telling me it's over? Elena was struck dumb. Caleb's face was dark as a thunderhead. Julian, enough. You don't need to humiliate her. We admit the timing is bad, but we just didn't want to lie anymore. We love each other. Love each other? I repeated, staring at Caleb coldly. Don't you feel dirty using those words? Caleb, you've been in the Thorn House for 20 years. Your food, your clothes, your Ivy League education, your cars, who paid for them? My father. Now you steal my position, steal my fiancé, and tell me it's true love. With every word, Caleb looked worse. He hated being reminded of his adoption. For 20 years, he lived like a parasite, enjoying the luxury while feeling the humiliation of it. He worked desperately to outshine the biological son, to prove he was worthy. Now he thought he had succeeded. Julian, he gritted out, the chairman gave me those things. The value I create for the company pays for it. I'm not a parasite. Really, I leaned in. Then tell me, that white moonlight, the girl named Serena Vance you've hidden in your heart for 10 years. Do you dare go to her now and tell her you love her? Boom. It was as if a bomb went off in Caleb's head. He shot up, his chair flipping backward with a crash. He stared at me, eyes wide with terror. How do you know? Serena Vance. That name was his deepest secret. The woman he worshipped from afar, whom he felt unworthy to even think about. Elena looked confused. Serena? Who is she? I ignored Elena and kept my eyes on Caleb. I not only know her, I know about the high school photos hidden in the bottom drawer of your desk. I know about the burner social media account that follows only her. I know you've been clawing your way to the top just to feel worthy of her. Correct. Caleb was breathing heavily, like a trapped animal. You investigated me? I didn't need to. Caleb, you forget I was the master of that house. You think your little moves went unnoticed? I leaned back, looking down on him. Now you have the CEO title, but you're holding another woman's hand. What's the matter? Still afraid to approach your dream girl? Still feel like you're not good enough? Julian, he roared, looking ready to lunge. Elena grabbed him in a panic. Caleb, calm down. Who is she? Who is Serena Vance? Caleb's chest heaved, looking between Elena and me, his rationality crumbling. I stood up. Elena, Congratulations. You found a true love who sees you as a consolation prize. I turned and walked away, leaving behind Elena's tearful questioning and Caleb's chaotic excuses. Outside, the sun was still bright. My plan was just beginning. I returned to the Thorne estate. The living room was empty. My father was likely still at the office doing damage control. I went straight to the second-floor study. It used to be my mother's art studio. After she passed, my father turned it into a storage room for management books. I walked to the massive bookshelf, reached into the third row, and found a hidden compartment. Inside was a small, locked velvet box. I opened it. Inside lay a document. Deed of gift. My mother left it to me on my 18th birthday. She knew she wouldn't last to see me grow up. This document transferred 30% of the circulating shares of Thorne Enterprises, held in her name, directly to me. These shares were independent of the family trust. They were my private property, my leverage. My father knew about them. He had tried for years to get me to merge them into the family trust for stability. I always refused. My mother's foresight had saved me. I called Attorney Stone. Marcus, it's Julian. Julian. Marcus sounded worried. I heard about the board meeting. Are you? Okay. Marcus was my mother's best friend. I'm Fine. I need a favor. Name it. Initiate a stock transfer. Transfer all shares of J.T. Ventures under my name to my father, Victor Thorne. Marcus paused. G.T. Ventures? That little startup you made in college? It's basically a shell company. Are you sure? I'm sure. G.T. Ventures had a registered capital of $1 million, but was effectively dead. But the name sounded impressive. Marcus understood immediately, and his tone lightened. Understood. I'll prep the papers. Also, book me a flight to Switzerland tonight. Switzerland? All right. Keep your head up, Julian. I know. Thanks, Marcus. I hung up, locked the deed back in a box, and opened my laptop. I began drafting a new business plan. Title: Feasibility Report on the Formation of Apex Capital Partners and Strategic Alliance with Vance Global. Vance Global, headquartered in Geneva, a top-tier European luxury conglomerate. The current helm was the only daughter of the Vance family, Serena Vance. Caleb's obsession. I didn't really know her. We met once at a gala in Europe 2 years ago. She was cold, regal, like a lotus on a snow-capped mountain. Caleb saw a goddess. I saw a partner. Vance Global had been trying to crack the Asian market for years, but kept failing. They needed a guide with resources. I had the time. And I had the chip they couldn't refuse, 30% of Thorne Enterprises. Thorne's main business was real estate, but my father was pushing a pivot to luxury retail. The brands Vance owned were exactly what Thorne needed. If I used my shares as leverage to align with Vance, creating a new entity to eat the Asian market, what would the Thorne board think? What will my father think? And Caleb, when he realizes the empire he stole is just a stepping stone for me, and his goddess is my partner, perhaps even my wife, his face will be worth seeing. I wrote all afternoon. By evening, my father returned. He barged into the study, face dark. You still have the face to be here. I closed the laptop and stood. This is my room. Your room. He sneered. Julian, you disappoint me. I gave you everything, and you have no gratitude. Look at Caleb. He's twice the man you are. Gratitude again. I looked at him with pity. He didn't dislike my ability. He hated that he couldn't control me. He wanted a dog that begged. Caleb satisfied that need. So you're kicking me out? I asked. He choked slightly, surprised by my directness. I'm not that heartless. He tossed a file on the desk. This is the transfer for J.T. Ventures. I had legal draw it up. Sign it over to me. I glanced at it. Predictable. And then, I'll give you $50 million. Enough to live on. Don't come back to the house and stay out of company affairs. It was charity. $50 million to buy out the eldest son and acquire a shell company. What a deal. Fine. I picked up the pen and signed my name with a flourish. Julian Thorne. My father blinked, stunned by my speed. He expected a fight. He picked up the document, suspicion in his eyes. You just signed it? Why not? I tossed the pen. I'm done with this house and this company. You want it, take it. My apparent defeat satisfied him. He relaxed. Julian, don't blame me. I'm doing this for the company. You're too young, too arrogant. I know. I nodded, playing my part. He left, satisfied. I watched his back, eyes cold. He took a worthless shell. I was taking the thing he wanted most, but could never have. I grabbed my packed suitcase and walked out of the house I'd lived in for 26 years without a goodbye. Outside, a black sedan pulled up. Marcus's driver opened the door. Sir, the jet is waiting. I got in. As we drove into the night, I dialed an international number. It rang 3 times. A cool, pleasant female voice answered. Hello. Ms. Vance, hello. This is Julian Thorne. I watched the street lights blur. I have a proposal regarding the Asian market that I think you'll find interesting. Julian Thorne? She repeated, her tone guarded. The former heir of Thorne Enterprises. News traveled fast. That's me. I assume you've heard about the restructuring. In my view, this is an unprecedented opportunity for Vance Global. Silence. I could picture Serena in her Geneva office, assessing the sanity of a disowned heir, calling her. I don't follow, she finally said. What does Thorne family drama have to do with my business? Everything, I said. Under my father, Thorne Enterprises was conservative. Now, it's run by Caleb Reed. I know him better than anyone. He's ambitious, but unstable. He'll be aggressive, but every decision will be to please my father. He won't be a partner to Vance Global. He'll be a liability. However, I've shifted tone. I am now an independent agent. I know the market. I know the enemy. And most importantly, I hold 30% of Thorne Enterprises' circulating stock. What? Surprise colored her voice. The public knew I was disinherited. They didn't know about my mother's legacy. I'm not a failure, Ms. Vance. I am a free investor with significant capital and a desire for revenge. I can give you what the Thorne Group cannot. A fulcrum to pry open the entire continent. We arrived at the airport. Silence on the line. Finally, she spoke. I'm in Geneva. If what you say is true, we should meet. I'm already on my way. I'll be there in 8 hours. Good. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. My office. Don't disappoint me, Mr. Thorne. I won't. I hung up. The plane took off, piercing the clouds. My chessboard had expanded from a single house to the world. Caleb, Elena, father. Get ready for my first gift. Vance Global Headquarters sat on the shores of Lake Geneva. The top-floor office had a wall of glass overlooking Mont Blanc. Serena Vance sat before that magnificent view. White suit, hair up, elegant neck. She was colder and more imposing than her photos. She didn't stand, just gestured to a chair. Mr. Thorne, you're younger than I imagined. Ms. Vance, you're more direct than the rumors say. I sat and placed a tablet on the desk. Before I look at your plan, I need to verify the 30%. Naturally, I unlocked the tablet, showing the encrypted legal documents Marcus prepared. Serena read every clause. Her assistant verified them in real time. 10 minutes later, she looked up, doubt replaced by the look of a predator recognizing another. Very well, let's hear it. I switched to the presentation. Apex Capital Strategy. We form a joint venture here in Switzerland. I put in my shares as capital. Vance provides liquidity and brand channels. This new company becomes your flagship in Asia. I will be the navigator. Within a year, I will systematically dismantle Thorne Enterprises' luxury division, swallow it, and integrate it into our map. The room went quiet. Serena stared at me, shocked by the sheer audacity. Your ambition dwarfs your father's. I don't consider ambition a derogatory term. She smiled, a faint thaw. Why should I bet on you? A son kicked out by his own father. Because I was kicked out. I have no restraints. This is war, Ms. Vance. You need a general who knows the terrain and hates the enemy. That's me. I lean forward, and I can offer you a guarantee no contract can match. Oh, marry me, the assistant gasped. Serena looked at me like I was insane. I held her gaze. Business alliances break. Family unions, at our level, bind us. It sends a signal to the market and to my father. Vance Global and I are one. It's the bedrock of Apex Capital. And it's the loudest slap in the face to my dear brother Caleb. I mentioned Caleb on purpose. Her eyes flickered. She knew of his obsession. To her, it was likely repulsive. Ms. Vance, this isn't a courtship. It's a maximization of profit. You get Asia, I get revenge. Emotions are a luxury for the victors. Until then, we just need a shared goal. Silence stretched. Julian, she said slowly, your plan is crazy, but tempting. However, words aren't enough. She walked to the window. Give me a reason to believe you aren't just talk. Show me your fangs. Serena gave me a week. I didn't stay in Geneva. I flew to London that afternoon. My fangs would be bared in the financial center of the world. Using the remaining liquid funds in my personal account, I opened an independent trading position and started shorting a mining company called Aurora International with high leverage. Headquartered in Hong Kong, Aurora seemed unrelated to Thorne or Vance. But I remembered. A month before I was disowned, I saw an acquisition proposal on Caleb's desk. Caleb was pushing my father to acquire Aurora, claiming its rare earth deposits were a gold mine. My father was convinced, but I knew it was a trap. I had researched them. Their financials were cooked, their reserves exaggerated tenfold. It was a capital scam waiting for a sucker. In the original timeline, Thorne Enterprises would announce the acquisition next week. I was going to flip the table before the feast began. I used Marcus's contacts to distribute my anonymous investigation report on Aurora's fraud to every major financial outlet and rating agency in London. Simultaneously, I hammered the stock price. The storm hit on day 3. A major agency downgraded Aurora from stable to junk. The market panicked. Aurora's stock plummeted 70% in an hour. By day 4, trading was suspended pending investigation. By day 5, executives were arrested in Hong Kong. The star company was now worthless debris, and I had turned my principal into 15 times its value. I immediately transferred the funds to a Swiss account Serena designated and texted her. Fangs bared. Check your account. 5 minutes later, she called. There is 300 million euros in the account. 20 times your profit. That is my personal investment. I have one request. Name it. I want the carcass of Aurora International, specifically the land rights and exploration permits. Cost is no object. I understood. The minerals were fake, but the land was real. Some plots were crucial for Vance Global's logistics network. She was showing me her style. Ruthless efficiency. As you wish. Come back to Geneva, she said. My legal team has the agreements ready. Which ones? I asked knowingly. A light laugh. All of them. 2 days later, I met Serena at City Hall in Geneva. She wore a simple white dress, no makeup, yet looked breathtaking. We exchanged no rings, no vows. We simply signed 2 documents. One for the bylaws of Apex Capital. The other, our marriage certificate. Walking out into the sun, Serena put on sunglasses. Congratulations, Mr. Thorne. Your ammunition is now unlimited. I smiled, the first real smile in a month. Congratulations to you too, Mrs. Thorne. Your ship has sailed. That afternoon, a bombshell hit the wires. Vance Global and a mysterious Asian private capital firm had formed Apex Capital. Their first move, a lightning acquisition of the bankrupt Aurora International. The news reached New York late at night. In the Thorne penthouse office, Caleb stared at the screen, face pale. He had convinced my father to mobilize nearly $1 billion in liquidity for the Aurora deal, scheduled for Monday. Now the target was gone. Bang! Victor Thorne kicked over a chair. Find out. Find out who is behind this Apex Capital. He roared like a wounded lion. Caleb stood trembling. He had a premonition. A storm was coming, centered on him. But he never imagined the eye of the storm was the brother he pushed off a cliff, standing arm in arm with the woman of his dreams. 3 months later, the Starlight Charity Gala in New York. The city's elite gathered. The spotlight was on the new CEO of Thorne Enterprises, Caleb Reed. He wore a bespoke suit, holding a lane across his arm, laughing with tycoons. Since taking over, he had soaked up the glory like a sponge. Elena, wearing a diamond the size of a pigeon egg, basked in the envy of society wives. Victor sat at the head table, looking like a retired emperor satisfied with his heir. Then, the gilded doors opened. The noisy hall was silenced. All eyes turned to the couple at the entrance. I wore a midnight blue suit. Beside me was a woman in a moon-white gown, wearing only simple pearl earrings, yet she outshone every diamond in the room. Cold, noble, otherworldly. Serena Vance. Caleb's smile froze. His champagne flute slipped, shattering on the marble. The sound was piercing. Elena turned pale, staring at Serena with the instinctive jealousy of a woman facing a superior predator. I walked straight toward them with Serena on my arm. Every step was a stomp on Caleb's heart. Caleb, long time no see. I stopped before them, looking down at the mess on the floor. CO, title, making your hands shake? Caleb's lips trembled. He stared at Serena, devouring her with his eyes. The goddess he dared not dream of was now on the arm of the man he hated most. Serena sensed his gaze and tilted her head toward me. Julian, who is this? Her voice was soft, but it hit Caleb like thunder. She didn't know him. It was the ultimate humiliation. Elena stepped forward, screeching. Julian, did you bring her here to humiliate us? Before I could speak, Serena turned her cool gaze on her. Miss, my husband and I are attending a gala. Do I need to explain myself to you? My husband, Elena Wilted. Victor stormed over. Julian, you dare come back. Dad, you joke. New York is my home. I pulled Serena closer. Oh, let me introduce you. This is my wife, Serena Vance. Victor's pupils contracted. I delivered the final blow. She is also the co-founder of Apex Capital. Boom! Victor staggered back. Apex Capital, the firm that sniped Aurora, cost them millions, and made them a laughingstock. You traitor. Dad, business is business. You taught me survival of the fittest. I just learn it better. I walked past them to the main table, the crowd parting like the Red Sea. I had returned. The game had officially begun. On the ride home, The atmosphere in Victor's limo was freezing. Useless. Victor finally exploded, slapping Caleb across the face. Blood trickled from Caleb's lip. Dad, don't call me Dad. $1 billion loss on Aurora. You didn't even know who the enemy was. And now, he brings his wife to our doorstep, and you can't even speak. Victor pointed a shaking finger. You said you were steadier? Is this steady? And you? He turned on Elena. Regretting your choice now that you see his woman? I didn't. Shut up. Both of you. Trash. Victor slammed the door when they arrived, leaving them the car. The cracks in their alliance were spreading. Meanwhile, in the presidential suite of the city's top hotel, Serena and I toasted with red wine overlooking the skyline. Step 1 complete, she said. Victor is rattled. Caleb is broken. That was just the appetizer, I said, sipping my wine. Tonight, Caleb and Elena will have their first real fight. My father will start doubting his decision. Trust is crumbling. Serena turned to me, moonlight reflecting in her eyes. What's the next step? Thorn Enterprises' flagship project is the Elysium District in the East Side, a multi-billion-dollar luxury complex. They've been negotiating with the city and banks for 6 months. We take it. Not just take it, Serena corrected. Right. I want that project to be the noose that strangles them. I put down a glass and called Marcus. Initiate Plan B. Plan B was simple. Over the last 3 months, utilizing Vance Global's influence, I had signed exclusive strategic partnership agreements with over 20 top-tier luxury brands for the Asian and American markets. These were the exact brands Thorn intended to anchor the Elysium District. The next morning, as Thorn stock dipped from the gala fallout, Apex Capital formally submitted a competing bid for the Elysium District. Our proposal promised higher investment and included a 20-page attachment, signed letters of intent from the world's top brands. If Thorn won the land, they would build a ghost town. We held the content. They only wanted the container. News broke. Thorn stock hit the limit down. Victor and Caleb sat in the office, paralyzed. This was pulling the rug out from under them. It's over, Victor mumbled. Caleb stared at the name Serena Vance on the screen, digging his nails into his palms until they bled. Thorn boardroom. The atmosphere was leaden. The stock chart on the screen was a red line plunging into the abyss. Market cap had evaporated by $3 billion in a week. Victor cleared his throat. He looked 10 years older. Gentlemen, regarding the Elysium project, I admit there were errors in judgment. Caleb sat beside him, head bowed like a convict. Chairman, this isn't an error. It's a disaster. A senior director slammed the table. Do we proceed? If we do, we have no brands. If we don't, the initial investment is wasted. And the Aurora loss. $10 million gone with no explanation. I suggest we suspend Caleb Reed immediately. Accusations flew like knives. Caleb trembled. Victor reddened, about to explode, when the heavy doors creaked open. I walked in backlit calm. Sorry I'm late. Julian. Victor shot up. We'll let you in. You have no right to be here. Dad, relax. I took an empty seat. I'm not an employee, but I'm a shareholder. As the owner of 30% of the circulating stock, I have every right to be here. Don't I, gentlemen? Dead silence. They knew about the shares, but didn't expect me to weaponize them now. Fine, Victor said. Here to gloat. No, I'm here to save the company. I stood. Aurora failed. Elysium is dead in the water. Market cap is down $3 billion. All within 3 months of Caleb's tenure. I formally propose, first, immediate removal of Caleb Reed. Second, a special investigation into the Aurora deal. Third, I looked at Victor. Apex Capital will enter strategic negotiations to inject funds and share brand resources. But the condition is... I smiled. Thorn Enterprises must be led by me. Absolute silence. It wasn't a partnership. It was a hostile takeover from the inside. Victor stared, shaking. He realized I didn't just want the CEO seat. I wanted the kingdom. You keep dreaming. Victor squeezed out the words, face purple. Caleb looked at me with the fear one has for a vengeful god. Crazy? Maybe. I addressed the board. But do you have a better choice? Watch your stock become waste paper? Or trust the team that holds the keys to the luxury market? I promise, within a year, I will double the market cap. Greed overrode loyalty. The director opposite me, Mr. King, adjusted his glasses. Chairman, we respect you, but our money isn't monopoly money. I support Mr. Thorn's proposal. I agree. Remove Caleb. Support Apex. The tide turned instantly. Victor watched his old allies turn into sharks. He swayed, clutching his chest. Dad, Caleb cried out. Since we have a consensus, I said coldly, let's vote on removing Caleb Reed. All in favor. I raised my hand. Mr. King raised his. Then another. A forest of arms. Unanimous. Good. Now, regarding. Enough. Victor screamed, pointing at me, eyes bloodshot. Julian, you won. You ungrateful. His eyes rolled back, and he collapsed. Chaos erupted. Call 911. I watched the stroke take him, feeling nothing. I walked over to the stunned Caleb and whispered, remember? You said you understood gratitude better. Now, go repay him. I straightened up. Security, please escort the former CEO out. 2 guards dragged Caleb out like a dead dog. I walked to the window, looking down at the city. From today, the map would be redrawn by me. Caleb was thrown out of the side door. Suit torn, hands bleeding. Employees whispered and pointed. That's the ex-CEO? Deserves it. The words were needles. He scrambled up, humiliated. But he had a thought. Elena. She loved him. She would stand by him. He hailed a cab to their luxury apartment. Elena, it's just temporary, he rehearsed. He burst in, only to find Elena packing her LV suitcases. Elena. She looked at his disheveled state with disgust. You're broke, Caleb. The chairman had a stroke. You're nothing. Expect me to starve with you. No, we have true love. Slap. She hit him hard. Don't talk to me about love. You tricked me. If not for you, I'd be Mrs. Julian Thorne. You ruined me. Caleb was stunned. So, you only love the position? I just called Julian to beg for forgiveness, she laughed maniacally. You know what he said? My wife doesn't like me talking to trash. And he's suing you for $12 million in misappropriated funds. You're finished, Caleb. She slammed the door. Caleb collapsed. $12 million debt. Betrayal. In Julian's words, my wife doesn't like it. The dream was over. Thorne Tower, chairman's office. The decor was stripped, replaced with modern minimalism. Serena handed me a file. First injection of capital is in. Stock is stable. King is vice chair. Here's the reboot plan for Elysium. Execute it. Victor is in a private care facility, she said. Stroke. Paralyzed. Can't speak. Understood. I felt apathy. Julian, Serena paused. Your revenge is done. Technically, our contract allows for termination now. I looked at her. The moonlight framed her like a halo. I had started this as a transaction, but fighting beside her, I saw her brilliance. She wasn't an accessory. She was a queen. I walked over and pulled her into my arms. She stiffened. Terminate. I looked in her eyes, smiling genuinely for the first time. Ms. Vance, you're mistaken. My revenge is over, but our era has just begun. Have you ever seen an emperor release his most capable empress? I kissed her. Outside, the empire was rising. I visited the care facility once. Not for closure, but to finish it. Victor sat in a wheelchair, drooling, eyes full of hate. You said Mom was weak. You were wrong. She left me the shares not to hide, but to fight. I placed a photo of my mother on his lap. You used her. You used me. Now you have nothing. Thorne Enterprises is now Apex Thorne. Valuation, $50 billion. Watch me build what you never could. I left him screaming silently in his throat. He was just a biological donor now. At the groundbreaking for the new headquarters, Serena and I toured the site. Amidst the dust, I saw a gaunt laborer carrying rebar. He looked up. Caleb. Our eyes met. He froze, dropping the steel on his foot, numb to the pain. He saw us, gods on the hill, and he panicked, turning and running, stumbling in the mud to hide his shame. What is it? Serena asked. Nothing. Just a lost rat. I didn't bother him. Living in the dirt, while looking up at my tower, was the best punishment. Days later, Marcus told me Elena tried to see me. She was blacklisted from high society, drowning in debt. She wants a way out, Marcus said. If I had lost, would she have given me a way out? I asked. Marcus went silent. Everyone pays for their choices. On the ride home, Serena called. What do you want for dinner? Anything you make. 1 year later, the Apex Thorne Tower was complete. The tallest building in the city. Serena and I celebrated alone in the top floor office. Contract complete, she swirled her wine. We exceeded targets. I hugged her from behind. I want to breach the contract. I want a lifetime extension. Will you hire me as your husband forever? She laughed to sound like spring thaw. Approved. But I'm the boss. We kissed as the city sparkled below. The grand opening gala. We were the royalty of the night. People looked at us with awe and curiosity. How'd we do it? They didn't know we shared one brain, 2 halves of a whole. Late that night, I carried her on my back through the empty hall. My parents are coming next month, she whispered. I paused. The in-laws. I should prepare. My dad said, the kid who melted my iceberg daughter better be special. Think I can pass? I don't know, but I'm satisfied. A month later, a call came from the care facility. Victor was dying. He wanted to see me. He has a secret about the Vance family. I told Serena. He wants to plant a thorn, she said. Go. We go together. We stood by his deathbed. Speak, I said. With his last breath, Victor rasped Serena. Her father, Arthur, 25 years ago, destroyed your mother's family business. Ruined them. Caused her depression. You married your enemy's daughter. He died with a twisted grin, hoping to destroy us. Silence. Then we walked to the car. 25 years ago, Serena broke the silence. My father competed with your grandfather's firm, the Sterlings. He won. But, she looked at me, the killing blow wasn't the competition. It was an anonymous tip to the regulators about tax irregularities. My father traced it years later. The tip came from his son-in-law, Victor Thorne. My mind reeled. Victor destroyed my mother's family to seize their assets, then blamed the rival. Why didn't you tell me? It's your scar? I didn't want our relationship defined by past debts. We are us. I hugged her. Thank you. Victor's final curse failed. We buried him quietly. Life moved on. Our focus shifted to the impending arrival of my in-laws. In the weeks leading up to it, Serena changed. The iron-willed CEO disappeared, replaced by a nervous daughter. She spent afternoons studying cookbooks for Arthur's favorite dishes. She obsessively checked the thread count of the guest room sheets. One night, I found her kneeling on the living room rug, surrounded by open suitcases, fretting over which coats to pack for them for the return trip. She had practically bought out the seasonal counters at Bergdorf's. Serena, I said, hugging her from behind as she stared at a pile of cashmere. You're perfect. They'll love it. The real challenge finally arrived. Arthur and Evelyn Vance. We picked them up at the airport. Arthur Vance looked like an eagle. He scanned me like a balance sheet. Dad, Mom, I called him naturally. Evelyn hugged Serena. Arthur just stared. The car ride was a test of silence. At dinner, the interrogation began. You're expanding into AI? Arthur asked. Risky. Calculated risk, I parried. Then he dropped the bomb. You bought your grandfather's old estate. Do you hate us? We technically profited from his fall. Dad, I held Serena's hand. If that history led me to Serena, I'd trade everything I have for it again. The past is dust. Arthur stared, then raised his glass. Good. Later, over chess, he told me, I approved of you because of your college charity project. You have humanity beneath the armor. You made my daughter smile. He bowed as king. I lose. 2 months later, Arthur and Evelyn prepared to return to Europe. Before boarding the jet, Arthur handed me a document folder. Inside was the transfer of 10% of Vance Global shares from his private holdings to me, a belated and staggering wedding gift. After they left on the ride home, I asked Serena what her mother had whispered to her before leaving. She blushed and refused to say. It wasn't until that night that I understood. 2 years later, the hospital, a baby girl's cry. I kissed Serena's sweaty forehead. Good job, wife. Another year later, the roof garden, my daughter on the swing. My assistant called. We found someone looking like Caleb in a gold mine in Africa. I don't care. I hung up. Who was that? Serena asked. Nobody. I hugged my girls. I lost everything once to gain the world. The revenge was just the road home. Story complete.